Welcome to Hemmings TV. I'm Richard Lentinello, the executive editor of Hemmings Motor News, and today I'd like to show you one of my favorite automobiles, the 1967 Triumph GT6. Not only is this one of my favorite automobiles, but the car we have here belongs to me. I've owned it now for 3 years. It is a Mark I model, and I guess in the Triumph world today, it's quite rare. There's just not many of them around. I bought it from the original owner, a Dr. Robert Miller from New Jersey, who was kind enough to sell it to me. He took incredible care of the car all through his years, and now I promised him that I would do the same and continue that preservation of the car. What's so special about it is that it has only 49,133 miles from new, and it features a lot of original features that you just don't see today. And the reason you don't see them is because, once a car is restored, all those original markings and character flaws and all that stuff gets eliminated. And therefore, the cars are no longer original. They're kind of a replica, if you will. But this car is unrestored. It's what the Bloomington Gold people call a survivor. It's just wonderful owning a car like this and being the custodian of it. Of course, there's a negative side to owning a car like this, is that every time you use it and you drive it, but I'm a firm believer in driving my cars, is that, you're putting more wear in it. You're putting more wear and tear. But, if you're careful on how you do it, like when you open the door, you don't want to swing it open wide. When you sit in the seat, you want to sit down carefully and slowly so you don't rip the seams. You want to make sure that the paint is clean all the time. If there's any rust spots, you want to take care of them right away. And let's face it, it's a Triumph. It's going to rust no matter what you do to it. Just got to keep it clean and preserved, well oiled. And the key to the preservation is using it. Because when you don't use them and they sit, the seals dry up. And before you know it, rust forms on the inside of the mechanicals, and then you have all kinds of issues. But that doesn't mean that this car doesn't have its issues itself. Right now we're experiencing a little bit of a clutch problem. It's the original clutch master cylinder that's been on the car since 1967. So I am going to rebuild that shortly. Outside that, I'm very proud of the car, owning it. I love driving it. Believe it or not, I'm 6'4" and I fit in it like a glove. There's plenty of headroom. There's lots of legroom. It's just a blast to drive. So, I'd like to show you more about the car and the little details that the Triumph people go fanatic over. Because again, once a car is restored, you eliminate those things that the people on the assembly line back in Coventry, England did to it. This car has all those original markings, and that's what makes it so special. Let's take a closer look. Let's take a look at the engine compartment. It has the exterior latches, and you just tilt the whole bonnet forward, which includes the fenders, and voila. I mean, there's just easy access. I mean, it's one of the best cars to work on. In fact, and again, 6'4", but there's still plenty of room. I put my feet in here, and I sit on the tire, and I can tune it up. I do the same thing on the other side when I work on the carburetors. I mean, it's just, and I got long legs, but there's plenty of room. I mean, it's just a great little car to work on, to learn on. If you know someone that you want to, if you have a son or a grandson, a nephew, a niece, a daughter, and you want to get them started in the old car hobby, a Triumph Spitfire or a Triumph GT6 is an ideal car because they're very simple, they're easy to work on. Parts, you can get almost any part you want, used, new, reproduction, and they're very affordable. But let me show you some of the original details on this car that you really won't find on any other GT6. Notice that many of the hoses are original, including the clamps. Original voltage regulator, original starter solenoid. But what's most interesting is the original battery cables. These you don't find anymore at all. There's a little screw that screws down into the terminal. And they're made of lead. And these are all original and in well-kept condition. Other details are, you see the paint markings from the factory that you hardly ever see because everybody takes these off and they polish the carburetors, but no, that is all original, including all the little plastic pieces for the linkage. Same thing with the water pump. It has the yellow approval mark from the assembly line. And that's what makes this car so special. Or not only this car, but original cars themselves. Yeah, this rubber piece with the original clips. Those always deteriorate. Same thing down here. You'll see another one. All those are original to the car. Yes, they're not in the most perfect shape, but you know they are, what, since 1967? They're quite old, but they've been well preserved, and this kind of serves as a template for people who want to restore a GT6 that is too far gone. They will look at this and they'll say, okay, so that's how it's done. These are the clamps that we need to use. These are the screw heads. These are the proper, washers and clamps and clips. And that's what makes original cars so special. We need to preserve as many of them as possible for the hobby. Doesn't matter whether it's a Hudson or Packard or Camaro, Triumph, MG. If the car is original and it deserves to be kept in the original state, you need to do that. So let's look at some other features of the car. It still has the original generator. Let's see. The engine has never been apart. The cylinder head has never been off. That's the original fuel pump. You still has the paper filter for the oil filter. I just take this screw off and the paper element comes out, and then you put it back in. All the bellows for the rack and pinion, everything is correct. There is a cardboard panel that goes here, which I have. I just took it off so we could show you more of the engine. But that's the engine compartment, a straight 6, 100 horsepower, and for a car that weighs something like 1,600 pounds, it really has lots of little get up and go. So now I'm going to show you the interior. As you can see, again, it's all original. It's in great shape. In most cases, you'll see the varnish on the real wood dashboard has cracked. There's a few minor hairlines, but for the most part, this is incredibly well preserved. The original gauges, the original steering wheel, no cracks in the leather. Many people, through the years, they change the steering wheel for an aftermarket unit, but no, this is original to the car, including the original gear shift knob. I mean, everybody puts, back then they put a wood Amco knob, but no, the good doctor kept it original. Original Triumph radio with the words Triumph. I mean, these are all the original screws and switches. The original cardboard package shelf. And the original seats, I mean, they're in fantastic shape. And here's another thing, which you hardly ever see. The Triumph seat belts, which are, kind of hard to come by because a lot of cars weren't fitted with seat belts until 68 as mandatory, but this is a 67. The door panels are original to the car. Now, here's one thing where the carpeting is completely original, but as you can see, it's worn. It's a little brown in spots, or a lot of spots, but it's one of those things, do you change the carpeting and to make it look better, or do you leave it? So I chose to leave it. I don't care about a car looking perfect. I'd rather it look authentic. Same thing with the headliner. The headline is in fantastic shape, all original. And if you notice here, the dome lamp works every time you open up the car door, which is odd because, people make a lot of fun of Lucas Electronics and all that kind of stuff, but everything works on this car the way it should. It has the hatch, and again, you see the carpeting. It's original, it's brown, no longer black, but I'm going to leave it as long as possible. Same thing underneath, the wood floors, look at that hide the spare tire. They're in perfect shape. Usually those things warp from moisture and all kinds of things, but not this car. The fuel filler cap, quick release. All that is original to the car. The bump is, let's face it, you have the emblem here that is showing, some tarnish, well, a lot of tarnish, but again, I am not going to touch it. It's original. Now here's another rare accessory that you hardly ever see. This is an exhaust muffler extension. And you hardly ever see those on cars. Well, Triumphs anyway. But that is a factory option. And yeah, it's a little rusty. Could use a little bit of re-chroming, but one day we'll definitely get to that. And let's go to the front of the car. You know, as you can see, there are some scratches here through the years, you know, with your fingernails. The paint is a little dull, but I'd rather have dull original paint than shiny new paint, because this tells me that the car is honest. It has never been hit. It's never been messed with. You can't hide that fact. You know, there are some markings here and there, but that's the character of the car. That's the patina of it all. Coming here to the front, the original badge, the original grill, which is in great shape, and then you have these grill badges from the Triumph Sports Owners Association, which is kind of hard because these are the original badges from the 60s in there. It's metal. Today, they're all made out of plastic, and this is an SECA badge, again, metal, that Dr. Miller put on the car many years ago. And, you know, I've kept them there. I didn't make any changes to the car since I bought it, and I'm going to keep it like that. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. Here's another thing that, you know, one of the first things people change is when they need to get windshield wipers, they never want to change the blade, they change the whole arm. Well, these are the original arms. These are the original blade holders that Triumph put on the car. And, you know, they're quite hard to find today, all those little details. In fact, what this car also has is the original muffler, which just last week I blew a hole in it. Now, I'm not going to change the muffler, I'm going to patch it. Because how many original mufflers do you see today on a British sports car that was built in '67? You don't. So I'm going to patch the hole. And it's not because I'm cheap, it's just because I want to leave as many factory made parts that were put on the car today. I want to leave as much as possible. I don't care if a car doesn't look perfect. Nobody's perfect. And besides, when you own a perfect car, you're afraid to drive it. Why? Because you don't want to get any flaws, you don't want to get any chips. Well, what's the sense of owning a car if you're not going to drive it? Let's face it, it's just a machine. But even though it is a somewhat rare machine, I guess you could call it, for a mass-produced car, we still have to take the liberties of using it in a careful manner, in a respectful manner, because we need to preserve the integrity of the car. We need to preserve the history of the Triumph GT6 for this particular model. And yeah, I'm just very happy and fortunate to own it. I love driving it, and it's one of 4 Triumphs that I own. And hopefully before I die, I'll own another, you know, 65, 70, 80 Triumphs. And I just can't get them out of my blood.